Welcome back, everyone. We had this nice little Pokemon Gold right here that doesn't have a label on it, and this is having issues, so we are going to see if we can get this working. Start by putting it in here, turning it on, and there you go, that is what it is doing. So we'll start with our game bit and pop this apart. Now there's a good chance this is going to be the same type of issue that the Mega Man Extreme had for the Game Boy Color in the previous video. But let's find out. Slide the case on down. Maybe. It's not sliding well. Oh. That is quite a sight. Bunch of electrical tape around the battery. Okay. So instead of soldering, they tried to change a battery using electrical tape. So luckily we have just what we need right here. So I'm going to get the soldering equipment ready and going to remove these flimsy metal pieces here. Make sure this gets all cleaned up and everything. We're going to put that battery in and then see what happens from there. We have our desoldering wick we're going to use on here. Just get all this solder soaked right on up. Then we'll get this piece removed. Then we'll get this solder soaked up down here. Just make sure the metal pieces are removed from there too. It's actually looking pretty good now. Going to grab Q-tips and isopropyl alcohol and give it a nice clean. Just take it and go over each of these contact areas pretty well. Might even get more of this done. I'm also going to get the case a little bit because there's a little bit of sticky residue left from the electrical tape on the case. And the light shining enough, you can see right here, that's where it was all touching with that. So I'm going to get that glue off of the case. And some of it is actually scratched where that metal was poking it. There's also a bit of weird residue stuff down here, so I think I'm going to give the pins a nice cleaning also. We'll do our old-fashioned method. We'll use the rubber from an eraser to go over the pins. It's a nice way to get a bunch of the weird stuff off of these pins. Then a Q-tip with isopropyl alcohol on it. Just kind of roughly go over this. That should get these clean. Don't want to do too much to these pins because they look like they have seen better days, but there's at least a nice shine to them now. So I think those are good. You rotate this back around. And then when you have a battery like this, it's always the biggest side of the battery goes down. That's the this has the plus on it, has the little metal part on that bottom part, and you have the plus goes up here. So you just want to make sure the battery is lined up correctly. Then once that's lined up, you pull out a big roll of electrical you pull out the solder. I do have to applaud them. They did try to fix their own game at least. Not everyone's brave enough to try to do that. So then we will put this in the pin here and then just start melting some solder here. Just going to rotate that a little bit to make it easier for my angle. And then the positive side, do the same thing. Little pinhole here. And then just melt solder in here. And then with our solder in place there, just make sure it's all nice and clean. We'll just go over those spots. Some isopropyl alcohol. So I use the rosin core solder, and it's just cleaning up any messes that could be left behind from it. Okay, then we're going to put this back together. Not quite yet. There is some kind of grossness down here on the bottom. I'm going to see if we can get that cleaned up. Just running across it with isopropyl alcohol and a Q-tip. Okay, I've gotten it cleaned up pretty well. That's some kind of corrosion that's on there. It's actually kind of eaten away at a layer on the board. But before we go any further with that, I'm going to put this back together now. That in there, put the front shell in place, and then get our game bit back in place. Feed this into our SP, and see what happens. Hey, it seems like that worked. We have a Pokemon game, Pokemon Gold version. Now it's not going to have any save data because of the battery issue, but Saving should work from now on in here. So with how the pins are and with some of the corrosion on here, even though it works right now, what we're going to do is just apply a little bit of deoxit to these pins here just to kind of protect them a little bit more. But before I do that, let me move this Pokemon card mat out of the way. So I'm going to take a little bit of deoxit and just kind of go along the pins here. Because deoxit doesn't just clean, it will actually help protect it a little bit. Since a lot of the coating and things are cleared off of here, it might help with contacts so it will last longer in the future. And then just use a Q-tip to get any of the excess off. And then that should be good. Going to put it all back together again. Then to be sure everything's still good, Game Freak presents a bunch of weird noises with some shoulders. Pokemon Gold version. So once again, I do applaud them for trying to fix their own system. A lot of retro game stores, places like that, they only charge about $10 to swap out batteries. I hope this was helpful for you. Want to thank you for watching. If you enjoy this kind of stuff, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, leave a thumbs up if you haven't, and want to thank you for watching. Have a nice day.